What's good, y'all? Fuzion here, back with another reaction video. Inside the NBA. I haven't reacted to them in a while. They're gonna be talking about the James Harden trade to the Clippers. I think that trade is going to be interesting. I do think that the Clippers lost a couple pieces, but they gained in my opinion, a 50-50 piece. Someone who is either going to be great for them or someone who is going to be awful for them. I do think that this is James Harden's, I don't want to say his last chance, but he's basically running out of teams to fuck up, to be honest. He forced himself out of Houston, forced himself out of Brooklyn, forced himself out of the 76ers. And I don't know what's next. We're going to see how he works with the Clippers with Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and Russ. I do think that their starting lineup at peak could be very, very dangerous. Zubac is a solid big man. He'll give you 12 and 10 like consistently. And excuse that noise back there. It is my dog acting up. I'm about to close the door on her, and then she's gonna be looking awkward. So yeah, so let's go ahead and get started.
Are we going to talk about some basketball?
Yes.
Okay, let's do that. Carmack's one-on-one. If you haven't heard,
They're gonna take.
Okay, so here's the final trade here. Clippers receive James Harden, PJ Tucker. Excuse me, y'all. Just 1 second. My bad. Okay. The Clippers, they get James Harden, PJ Tucker, and Philip Petrus. I don't know who that is. Anyway, the 76ers, they get Marcus Morris, Batum, Robert Covington, KJ Martin, 2 first-round picks. Well, yeah, 2 first-round picks, 1 first-round pick swap, as well as two second-round picks. The 76ers got a couple solid role players and solid defenders here. Personally, I didn't even think the 76ers really needed James Harden. It does look like that Tyrese Maxey is going to be their second option. He has been pretty consistent these past few years, honestly. He's been playing great. He is getting to his spots. He is scoring the ball at a solid clip. And I do think he plays well off of Joel Embiid. So I think that's interesting. They added a couple of defensive pieces with Robert Covington as well as Marcus Morris to really, I guess, replace the PJ Tucker defensive side, as well as some more first-round picks. So I think that's interesting. Now the Clippers, they got a defensive guy with PJ Tucker, and you don't know which James Harden you're going to get. Either you're going to get the scoring James Harden, or the playmaking James Harden, or the fat James Harden. That's the only James Hardens that there are. So I think it's going to be interesting. Let's go ahead and see what they have to say here.
Us serious dressed like damn idiots.
no, we can't do this. I'm just doing the pregame.
You can't do this. No, I'm talking about we having a serious conversation about this trade.
No,
look like damn. I mean, Shaq looked like a damn.
When did they actually? Let's keep it on, man. Come on, Chuckster. They'll take you seriously.
I will.
As seriously as
I
they
will
want
not
to.
do. Chuck. So here's. Would you get on the bus if he was driving? Chuck, since they made a trade, would you like to make a trade, Chuck? No, I don't want to be David.
There you go. That's a good look. All right, so there are the trade. There's everybody involved, and here the Sixers got back, including KJ Martin. So let's move on. The Clippers will be James Harden's 4th team in the last 4 seasons. In that time, he's gone from Houston to Brooklyn to Philly and now L.A. He joins Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and is reunited with Russell Westbrook, former teammates in OKC and Houston. Let's get more on the deal and how it went down from Chris Haynes. Chris.
Happy Halloween to you guys. You guys doing it big like always.
What is this? Why does it look so foggy? I don't think they paying him, bro. I think it's the damn light. That shit too bright.
But as it pertains to this James Harden deal, I was told that talks began again over the weekend. And I was told that Sixers ownership actually got involved and were trying to get this deal done as soon as possible. Now, James Harden was supposed to make his first practice debut today with the Sixers before this deal went down. I was told it was likely going to be the first time he actually participated in live scrimmages, but this all changed everything. Now he's going to the LA Clippers, the team that he wanted to go to from the beginning. And listen, all throughout this 4-month saga, James Harden was adamant that he would not play for a Daryl Morey-led team. And his agents, Mike Silverman and Troy Payne, they got their wishes. Throughout the process, James Harden was not fine throughout this whole ordeal. He didn't miss any paychecks. And then I also
all right, bro. He's just talking now. So let's go ahead and just talk about it real quick. So that whole James Harden situation, in the 76ers with Daryl Morey, that was James Harden being James Harden. Eventually, there should be a conversation on how he's forcing himself out of these teams. Very I don't want to say, how do I want to put this? I do think it's unfair on how he is leaving and how it is being forced. A lot of the teams picked who they had on their team because they know he was going to be there. I figured it wasn't going to work in Philly with Joel Embiid. I think that Joel Embiid has a strong personality. And I don't know if James Harden would be willing to take the back seat when Joel Embiid isn't always in that front seat, if that makes sense. He's very inconsistent. And James Harden already being a loose cannon, willing and will leave at a drop of a hat, I'm not surprised that didn't work out. I'm wondering how this will work with the Clippers, who will be there to hold him accountable. I personally hope it's Russ. I think Russ has that ability to hold him accountable. He's a hard-nosed, hard guy who is very who plays hard and is very present. He is there to play, and he always does play. I think that is a very important thing that he has. This will also help Kawhi and Paul George. They're great defenders, and I think that they extended a lot of energy on the offensive side. So adding someone who can be that offensive guy and just be that offensive guy in certain nights will be very, very helpful. There are a lot of teams that I feel like over the past 2 or 3 years that are making these beyond super teams. I feel like adding a fourth superstar all-star player to your roster shouldn't really happen like it did. And as the Lakers fan, I fucking hate it. But as an NBA fan, I think it's very, very interesting. And I'm really curious on how this will work. Will they be able to share the ball? Luckily, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard aren't very ball-dominant guys. Russ isn't also. Russ is not a ball-dominant guy. But I do think that James Harden will have to adjust to having, again, two and a half superstars. So I think it's gonna be interesting. I really do think it's gonna be interesting.
Also want to say
and fun to watch.
He already has
for sure fun
spoken
to watch.
to Russell Westbrook, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and Ty Lue. They're all ecstatic about the possibility of teaming up and getting this to show on the road. Now, I do want to say this as well. James Harden is supposed to land in LA at 5 p.m. Eastern, I'm told. And his intention is to be present for the game between the Clippers and Orlando Magic tonight. And then let's also, if you think about, how this whole thing all played out, we all know that behind the scenes, the whole ordeal between James Harden and Daryl Morey is due to a lack of communication. I was told that, Daryl Morey went ghost on James Harden for a few months. And I was told they haven't had any extensive conversation dating back to February. They spoke a little bit around the last playoffs, but it got really bad. And, I was also informed that Elton Brand, the general manager of the Sixers, he was, key in kind of keeping things cool. He was kind of the mediator throughout the process. So he played a big role in trying to keep this thing going. And, if you talk to the Sixers, they say that James Harden throughout was a professional. Even throughout, being gone for 10 days, it was an excused absence. They're still saying James Harden was mostly professional, and they commended him for the way he behaved and conducted himself throughout what was a tough situation. So at the end of the day, the Philadelphia...
This sounds like a cop-out, bro. I need someone to call James Harden out on his bullshit, because if it was the first team, okay, maybe it's a professional conversation. If this is the second team, I guess that could happen. But 4 teams in 4 years that he forced himself out of, it wasn't very, it wasn't a trade. Well, of course it was a trade, but I felt like he put his foot down and being like, I do not want to play for this team. He did that 4 different times. People call it out for Kyrie. Why are they not calling it out for him? That's all I'm saying.
76ers, they got 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks.
Yo, hurry up, bro.
So they're going to Green. Sources inform me that Danny Green actually restructured his contract before the start of the season. He took less money to help the team out with tax purposes.
Bro, Danny Green got waived.
He's being waived. And
good.
So that's a tough situation for him. His situation.
Dude couldn't hit a 3 to save his life.
On a roster, if he was on the Sixers roster opening night, he would get $500,000. Well, he restructured it where he would get $200,000 to help out.
I'm gonna keep it a bean, bro. Like, I am reacting to Inside the NBA because I want to hear what Chuck, Shaq, Kenny, and Ernie Johnson got to say. He talked too much. It's been like, how long has it been, bro? He's been talking for damn near 4 minutes. And he's going to talk for 5. I don't give a shit what he has to say. Unfortunately, that's just the case, bro. And if he would have got to his point in 2 minutes, okay. But it took him 4 minutes, like, to say this, and I felt like he should just put the shit on the screen and they got the fuck out the way. Of course, I'm not saying anything he has said wasn't important, but I felt like he's just rambling, bro. Nobody wants to hear from you for 5 minutes. I'm sorry. But that being said, I didn't know that Danny Green did take a pay cut, but it don't matter. He got waived. He can't. He's on teams for 3-point shot making, and he still can't make a fucking jump shot. But get his ass out of here. And I do want to talk about Gabe Vincent. He hit his first 3 the other night, and I shout out to the Lakers. They finally got that. They got a nice win of the other night. I actually didn't do a video on it because I took a day off. But anyway, like I've been almost saying and like repeating, I think that this Clippers team will have to adjust on adding someone like a James Harden to their roster. I'm wondering. I think that the Clippers have always been a great regular season team who has a lot of bad luck or always runs into teams that are just not just overall better, but just super, if that makes sense. Like the Clippers play against teams that have great nights. And it seems to always happen that they play against a team where they're just hitting every single time, especially in the playoffs. They can, for some reason, like they struggle all the time. And I don't think the Clippers have ever had a horrible roster over these past like 8 or 9 years. I don't think they've had a horrible roster. Starting from Lob City on, I don't think they've ever had a horrible roster. I think that they've always been in a position, roster-wise, to compete for a chip. Of course, it's the NBA. It's a game of runs and a tad bit of luck. I just think that the Clippers aren't lucky. I think this is their... I think James Harden is going to try to stay for at least like complete this year and maybe a little bit of next year. If they can keep all 4 of these guys like together, Terrence Mann plays well, keep him happy. Zubac, keep him happy. Norman Powell, a great guy off the bench who just is a bucket. Keep him happy. I think this could work. I really do. I think that I thought their roster was strong last year. This roster will be better. Adding James Harden and PJ Tucker will improve that roster even more than it already was. And I think it was already a very solid roster. Please don't get an ad.
34-year-old James Harden.
Well, he said he reunited with a teammate. All the teams he played, he was bound to reunite with everybody in the last 4 years. But I think this is honestly the best situation for, if we're talking about James Harden individually first. It's the best situation because I'm
hoping Chuck calls him out as well.
I think at this stage in his career, he's not a point guard anymore. He's a 2-guard. He would be better suited to spot up, come off screens instead of ISO at the top and pushing the pace. Russell Westbrook, even at 35, we've seen even in these 3 games, he pushes the pace and he could play at a faster pace that I think Paul George and Kawhi would need to play at. So I think this is actually better suited to take him more off the ball, individually. Secondly, the Clippers were going to contend for an NBA championship if they're healthy without James Harden. With him, what that gives them, I think, there's the flexibility to say, if you need to sit out 3 games, Russell Westbrook, you need to sit out Paul George 3 games, you need to sit out Kawhi, now you have another scorer that could take the advantage. So they were contending with or without him. This just makes it possibly a little easier.
For players of this caliber, Kawhi, PG, Russell, and James, it's championship or bust. Another big name guy. The Clippers for the past 4 or 5 years have been very iffy. Kenny alluded to it. We don't know who's going to be there, who's not going to be there. But if they don't win the championship, it doesn't work. Yeah, they may win some games, they may upset some teams, but players of these calibers, especially guys like Russell and James, they would like to have that championship under their belt. On paper, it looks good, but I don't know which Harden is going to show up. I don't know which Harden they want to show up. You want the scoring Harden, or you want the Harden to, be a facilitator? I'm hearing all these guys talking on TV about what option he's going to be, and I agree. Right now, he's the 4th option, and we've never seen the 4th option, James Harden. James is the guy that puts it between his legs.
Yeah, just like I stated before, there's 3 James Hardens that you're gonna get. And I'm going to go ahead and repeat him because I thought that shit was funny. Hopefully y'all laughed at it. The scoring, playmaking, and fat James Harden. That's the 3 James Hardens that you will get. Now, James Harden can do what he does best. Not play defense. He does not have to be the defensive guy anymore. He can just play offense. He can play fast off of a Russell Westbrook because Russ plays solid defense. Kawhi and Paul George are great defenders. Zubac is a solid defender in the middle. I think this is sort of what I feel like the Brooklyn Nets could have been, plus some. I think their bench got a little bit better as well, because they do have to push Terrence Mann down. PJ Tucker, he will definitely be coming off the bench, but having another defensive guy on your bench and you can have a full quote unquote lockdown lineup, I think that could be sort of dangerous. I think that they have height as well with with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard building against that Nuggets team who have big guards. I think adding more height so they could build against like the Warriors where they have little guards. I'm wondering if they can work well against my Lakers with shooting and, again, great defensive prowess. I think that this team could be very, very dangerous in the West already. In the East now, you can throw 3 different people now at Giannis. Kawhi, Paul George, and PJ Tucker. PJ Tucker's a great defender. I think he's more of an irritant, in my opinion. He'll maybe knock down 1 or 2 threes from the corner, but his main job is to get in the way and play defense. I think throwing 3 different guys at Giannis and forcing him to change his style of play. Who else is in the East? Boston. They have 3 guards that are great / good on both sides. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and they picked up Drew Holiday, as well as Kristaps Porzingis, who has been playing quite well. Who's their starting point guard now? I don't want to say Derek White. Is that his name? Yeah. Derek White. He has random games where he's solid on both ends of the court as well. Now you have 4 guys, again, who could definitely match up against that. You throw Paul George and Kawhi on Jason and Jalen. Russ can at least, bother Drew Holiday with his strength, as well as having PJ Tucker or, again, Paul George guarding Porzingis. That way that they can flex that defensive muscle. And James Harden can do what he does. I think we need to realize that James Harden will never be a defender. He will be an offensive guy. He plays lazy defense. And by that, I mean he'll get a steal based off of pure athleticism and IQ more than shuffling, moving his feet, more than that being a pinpoint thought process. I think it's by chance he'll make some defensive stops. It's never on purpose, I don't think. I always go back to that highlight where he looked away and then stole the ball because someone was going up for a layup. I thought that's the perfect example of James Harden defense.
Controls the ball.
Very good matchups to be coming.
How are they going to use
sure.
it? So I have to. Well, we all have to sit back and see how it works. But if they don't win a championship, it's a bust.
Where's this put the Clippers in your power ranking in the Western Conference?
I don't know the answer to that question because the Russell.
Because your hat's too tight?
Well, because the Russell Westbrook James Harden situation is interesting. Neither one can play without the ball. Now, Kenny had a great point. They were going to be contenders because of Kawhi and Paul George. Those are the 2 main guys that they can stay healthy. But I don't know who's going to play point guard. I don't know who's going to play off guard. So I don't know how the backcourt is going to work. But because of Paul and Kawhi, and Zubac, I love Zubac, they're going to be contenders. But it's going to be fascinating because I don't think either one of those guys can play without the ball. James has been a dribbler his entire life. And Russ has proven he struggles when he tries to play off the ball because he's not a great shooter. So it's going to be fascinating to watch. But I will say,
James have to get off the ball.
I mean,
yes.
But I don't think
he
James
can spot shoot and he can hold.
I don't look at James as a spot shooter. Number one, he holds the ball and makes his plays.
I don't think that James Harden will fit well as a spot up shooter. I think he needs to do a 1 dribble, 2 dribble type of move. I think Russ has proved he can be a solid like facilitator, but again, he can't play off of the ball. He's not a consistent shooter. He can slash quite well, but I feel like what he does well currently at his age and like level now is being that hustle, rebounder, energy, pass first guy. And he'll get a couple dunks every now and again, bringing that energy. And I think that could work. I think that Chuck is 100% right. The questions are, how will those two work with each other? A James Harden and Russ combination. They have 4 plus Zubac, so that would have to be the starting 5. I was thinking if they found, again, one of my favorite things I like to preach is pass first point guards. I think that there are a lot of great scorers already in the league. There's a lot of great slashers, great shooters in the league. There's maybe 10 great pass first point guards that I could probably name. I can name 3 off the top of my head. After that, I'm struggling. So I think that'll be interesting. I think if it doesn't work out this year, I do think that you need to give them one more year. This could be a gelling year just to see how they play. They do need to make it to the playoffs. They do need to make it to the conference finals. I don't think they have to win the conference finals. I do think that they have to be competitive in the conference finals. I think if they are competitive, make it a 6-game series, losing 6 games, that's a successful season in my opinion. And I think they can build more off of that after seeing that. Maybe get a Cameron Payne, maybe get a Chris Paul, maybe get a what's another pass first point guard sort of player. I could even see Klay Thompson coming to the Clippers. Again, he's not a pass first point guard, but he's a set shooter. He's a spot up shooter. I think moving someone to the bench or having Klay come off the bench and just be that you go out there and just catch and shoot, I think that would be great. Adding like some more floor spacing. I could see Klay Thompson going to the Bucks, honestly, as well. But I don't want to talk about that right now. But I think adding someone like that who is willing to be that pass first guy, I think that could work. And I think it'd be very, very dangerous. I'm just wondering how this chemistry will work with these 5. I really do. Well, those 4. I'm not counting Zubac.
Off the dribble. But I think it's a great trade for the Sixers. Number one, they got rid of the headache.
Yep.
It's addition by subtraction.
Yes. Number one, their bench got better. Mm-hmm. It's time for Maxey to be the second guy. But I think the biggest beneficiary of this whole situation is going to be Tobias Harris.
Oh, yes. I forgot about Tobias Harris on the 76ers. I think that adding James Harden to that team sort of nerfed Tobias Harris. He didn't get as many touches. I don't think that Tobias Harris liked playing with James Harden. I think that Tobias Harris is and has always been that guy who is that X factor for that team, a quality third option because he can shoot from the 3. He has a solid mid-range game. He has a really solid pull-up as well. If you ever really watched his style of play, it is very old school sort of. It like reminds me of he's like a tall God, I can't think of his name. It'll come to me at some point. But I think that Tobias Harris and Tyrese Maxey will play better, like they have been since James Harden has been off of that squad. I think now it's time for Joel Embiid to really decide on if he is going to be the next most dominant big man. This is his year. He needs to decide on how he is going to play, if he is going to be that guy. Because if not, Tyrese Maxey is going to swipe it right from him and be the first option because he can do it.
But you don't get 4 balls. You don't get 4 balls. Now he moves to the 3rd spot.
Bernard King. That's his name. I think that Tobias Harris is just a Bernard King with a little bit of range because of his build, his strength. He has a solid pull-up game from the mid-range. I always see him do that one dribble pull-up, and it's mostly money. He takes good quality shots, and he can play well off of the ball as well. Very solid player.
But you can have 3 guys who can score, but you can't have 4 guys. It's just not a ball shot.
And we'll see what Daryl Morey does with all these pieces that he accumulated in this deal.
Yeah, but Ernie, there's a reason people gave you these pieces. Like, everybody just assumes.
But the draft pieces too. I mean,
you got the draft pieces, and the biggest thing is
those draft picks ain't gonna be no good.
But the cap space, I think it's $55 million. They'll be in the cap space
and
next year.
That sounds good on paper, but they got to pay Maxey.
Got some nice pieces.
They got to pay Maxey.
Yeah.
So that $50 million, because Maxey gonna get a big deal because he deserves it.
Hard agree with Maxey. Maxey's gonna. I think this is Joel Embiid's final chance to prove that he is who he says he is until Tyrese Maxey just takes over. But those are my thoughts on this trade. I think it's going to be interesting. I do think that the Clippers will be a team to watch. Do they play tonight? Do the Clippers play tonight? Oh, yeah, they play against the Lakers. I think that's going to be interesting. I don't think James Harden is playing this game. I don't know when he's playing again, but I think it's going to be very, very interesting. And, so tell me what you guys think in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys later. Peace.